Test. Okay, now.
Test the other one.
Test.
Test. Okay, you good.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Um, this is a very informal meeting, and what we are going to do is just very simple uh, rules, not really rules, but just uh, things that you need to be aware of. Just in case, restrooms are, as soon as you walk out this door, to your right-hand side. If there is a list going around, if you want to talk, just put your name on the list. We are here basically because a couple of weeks ago, we had a small demonstration out there. But unfortunately, certain members of that demonstration weren't heard. And that's basically some of the mothers that were there at that time who have lost their loved ones, be it son, be it daughter, whoever. They wanted to speak out. So we decided, with the help of Ihesha, am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. Ihesha. With her help, we decided we put this together. Now, this is very informal, and we can do it two ways. We can hear everybody out. We can point fingers. We can criticize. We can yell, scream, or we can talk and come up with solutions. And what I want to do today is this. I want to get a group of solutions, ideas, concepts. Take at least 5 of them and see if in 2 weeks we can actually make them a reality. Now, if you notice, and you sit around here, you notice there's nobody from VIPD. You notice that there's nobody from the government's office. This is the community, myself. It's not a senator's meeting. It is being recorded now. However, it's not being live recorded for one reason. The reason is that if one of you guys, ladies, gentlemen, say something that you regret or say something that you don't want it to be live, we can have that option of perhaps editing out. If you don't want to appear on television, we can probably blur your face and not show you live afterwards. I think that's the right way of doing it. And like I said before, I'm not gonna stand here and preach. As a matter of fact, Mel, time me, give me 3 minutes, and then I'm done. And then we're gonna have Ihesha come here, and basically, it'll be Ihesha. The other lady is not here yet, but her and I, we are going to be the host of this meeting. Got me? Okay. Now, like I said before, we just want ideas. I can come here, and I had the idea. I had the concept of coming over here, and I did. I did put together a booklet of all the laws that my office have passed when it comes to youth-related legislation. But then I thought about it last night, and I realized that it doesn't make any sense, really, because we still have the same issue happening again. We can put 1,000 laws in the book, and if they're not being implemented, it's not going to help us at all. So what we want to do here is, like I said before, let's have a discussion. Let's have at least 5 ideas, 5 concepts, 5 that we can actually turn into a reality 2 weeks from now. And this will be coming from you guys, and it won't be the first. We're going to have another one. One thing that I noticed is that even though this was stated on the radio, I really don't see too many young people here. We all young at heart, but if you know what I mean, I would have loved to see somebody from the younger generation to at least come and give us their point of view. And perhaps our next meeting besides her. Sorry, you are young. I apologize. Besides her, maybe next time, maybe we can have some young individual out there to come here and tell us what's really going on in their words. Give us from their experience, and maybe for them to give us some ideas on how we can help them. So, like I said before, I'm not going to hog this microphone. I'm not. I'm going to start asking people to start giving me ideas. We're going to start writing them down. Hopefully, in maybe at the end of an hour, we can come up with 5 items that we really want to push as a community. And that's what I want to see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn over the microphone to Ihesha, Aisha, ven acá. Thank you. Aisha came 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, she went to my office. We spoke for a short time. And when we were down there, she voiced her frustration because she was unable to talk at that time. She was unable to really tell us why she was there. And that's one of the reasons, and I was glad that she stepped up to the plate and decided to help me organize this meeting. I'm very grateful to her. So Aisha, I'm going to turn it over to you, and what we'll do, you say a few words, and then we'll start taking, I believe you have a list of people?
Yes, Mr. Scott Library.
Okay. You have a question, sir? Oh, I thought he had his hand raised. Aisha?
Good afternoon to one and all.
Good afternoon.
All I know why we're here. I wish I could have seen more faces because this is serious thing. You know. But one thing I could say, this is just the beginning. This is not the end. My reason of being here and calling this meeting, first of all, where are the senators? I ain't see nobody sitting on here. Could you answer that, Mr. Sanes?
Yes. I'll answer that. An email was sent out with confirmation. Exactly. So they were notified. I'm not going to stand in front of you and BS you, but they were notified. And that's all I can say. They were notified by email, hard copy, and some of them, a couple of them were here 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. So hopefully they will show up.
Yeah, hopefully they show up. So I know what I need to do right when the right time come. November they're here. Okay, my call for this meeting is for to reveal my frustration and let mostly I wish the senators them being here. I don't have nothing against my people. How could I express my feeling when they're here? You know? It's them that I want to talk to. It's them that I have the question to ask. I want to ask them the question, where they there? Where they there? Anyway, all of we here know that we be losing our children left and right. I know that. Whether it's your child, whether it's your nephew, your niece, your grandchild, we are losing them because we're one community. And we can't stop it, but there's ways that we could try to slow it down. One of my vision is why the children them don't have any option, why they don't have any choices, why is only one thing alone they have to do, which is pick up the gun, kill each other, or do the wrong thing. Why ain't there option for the children them today to do? They don't have any activity, they don't have any facility that they could go and they could communicate with each other, share the love. Where is all of those promises that the senators are always saying, the children force weeks for the children, the children, the children? Where is them, and where are the facilities, and where are the promises, and where are the options for the children them to have, to choose instead of only have one thing to do? We ain't supposed to be living like this. We ain't supposed to be living like this at all. I is Ihesha, beautiful Ihesha. I guess everybody here know me. My real name is Marilyn Hodge. And I am the sister that, with my committee, have the program, Our Loved Ones Are Alive in Our Heart, which we had it the other day, on the 9th of April. And it hurt me, it bothered me, that when I have to prepare the board of the loved ones and every year add more, Watch the innocent faces that I replacing on the board and knowing that they no longer are wrong. Why? They're confused. They've been misled. They don't know where they was going. And then I find that we fail our children them. The community and the senators them. Community, the reason why I say we fail them, we sit back. We didn't stand up for their rights. We didn't stand up and look forward and make sure that they get what they was to get. Or they come to a position where they could be proud of themselves. We sit back and just let what be. And then the senators them, I don't know. I don't know if they don't. I don't know if any one of them ever lost a loved one. Because when I was laying down in my bed and I heard a loved one get shot down in the street, a youth or a young one, I can't sleep. And I don't know if they could sleep. Because we don't hear from them. We hear about every other thing except for how we could save our children them. I can't understand that. I know so many children that I put on that so many youths that I will last, that I put on that board, that gone, that voted for senators here. They voted for them. They went and they put the X on the name and they voted for them, and what we get? Nothing in return. So watch now, we there here today to make sure that what we want, we get. And I don't want nobody to tell me, I'm not senator to be promised me nothing more. Next 2 years they're going to do nothing. I want a foundation. I want to hear a foundation before we leave, that I know that down the road, couple more months, not November or October, couple more months, we could hear how high that foundation went. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Something have to happen. Have to. I ain't done yet, but I'm going to take a break. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person in line. No, you can speak from there.
Yeah, Mr. Library.
Yeah, Mr. Liebert.
Yes.
No, hold on. Let me stand up.
Mr. Liebert, can you make?
No, he's good. No, he's good. He's good.
I go.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Liebert, and these senators, all 15 of them, know how much power they have. They know how much they have the power, but they're not using the power in the right way. I don't know which way they're using the power, but they're not using the power for us, the citizens here. Now, you have a few senators in the Senate who was police officer, police captain, police this and police commissioner. They know where all the gangs hang out. They know where they I will probably with my voice, so bear with me. They know where all the gangs hang out. Mambiju, William Delight, they know where they are. They have the power to pass legislation. Get someone to go where these guys hang out, sit down with them, talk to them, ask them what they want, what they could do for them, and pass legislation that they could put these guys to paint the schools, put these guys to cut grass, set up somewhere where they could go and learn mechanic, carpentry. They have the power to do it. But they're using the power the wrong way. They're using it for the man who have the money already. Use the power to help us, the citizens, which they're not doing. Okay? And a lot of these crimes that been going on, if they do that, get these young guys together, sit down and talk with them, find out what they want, find out how you could help them. But they won't do that. They wouldn't go near these guys. You will find out now, next week, they will go on the corner where the guys hang out and tell them to vote for me. After that, that's it. They know where they hang out. Go there, talk to them. They have the power to do it. Okay, they have the last say that they just went against the governor and a casino bill. Okay? So they have the power. The governor veto it, they get together, and they veto it. They have the power, and they know they have the power. Okay? So they need to do something. Everybody blaming the police about the crime. They're blaming the government about the crime. The senators is the big part of the problem. Like I said, they have the power to legislate, to put these guys to work, get them off the street, to do something, learn a trade. But no, they're using the power to fill the rich people pocket. And that's all I see what they're doing. They're not doing anything. They want them for me, I going out soon. I leaving this out soon. Okay? And my children, them set up. So they do nothing for me and my children. But it have children out there. You have mothers and fathers that can't afford to give the children a uniform to go to school. Okay, I'm going to stop here now because I think I'm in emotion.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So far we have going out to the community, expanding programs like My Brother's Workshop, which is going on right now. So that's a concept that we're going to write it down and we can look into it. Good afternoon. Who's next in line?
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Miller.
Greetings and good evening to everybody. I have some written information. It's not a speech by me, but there's a lot of quotes that I have jotted down from books that individuals who have written on this subject have the expertise a little bit more than myself. And I would like to, if anything, to be allowed to read these quotes, and maybe you will get an idea. And I also want to, again, ask you, Senator, since you're the one that's doing this, again, why do I have to stand up to talk to the people? Why can't I sit down and read my information?
You can sit down if you want to.
But I need a table. Where we can't use up here. This we pay for this, you know. So
Use that table over there so you can face us.
this one?
Yeah.
Now, my intention again is to give recommendations because my last, I have about 4 pages, 5 pages, and the last set is recommendations. I have some recommendations, but I believe that we need to give a historical background on how this situation came about, that we're dealing with crime, criminal activities in our community. And this is the reason why I'm asking that, I could read some of these quotes. First of all, let me say that I am an educator here in the territory, and I have educated students in my 27 years, roughly. And some of the students or some of the victims of these violent crimes have been my students or students that I have taught. So it affects me, just like the mothers, and I thank Ihesha and the angry mothers for stepping up. It's about time. But it affects me when I see one of my students or hear or somebody tell me that one of my students has been killed in the street due to violence. And I also would have wished that all the St. Croix senators were here sitting down listening to us, and I hope that through the process of this evening here that they will come out. And it affects me to the point where when I like I said, when I hear young people who I have taught is one of the victims in the street and they were being affected negatively by these crimes. So let me just go ahead and give you some of my quotes. And first of all, I start with the debate about whether violence is part of the human makeup or a learned behavior. I remember clearly the time in my life that I knew nothing of violence and how hard I worked later to learn to become capable of it. My initial belief that violence is learned has been reinforced by years of counseling and teaching children and adolescents in inner city neighborhoods. This is a quote from Fist, Stick, and Knife by Jeffrey Canada. Another quote, I didn't know what a ghetto was then. Later, I would learn that we lived in the slums. I thought we had just moved to paradise. Another quote, it is the poverty of growing up surrounded by deviant, delinquent, and criminal adults in a practically perfect criminogenic environment. That is an environment that seems almost consciously designed to produce vicious, unrepentant, predatory street criminals. Criminogenic communities are places where the social forces that create predatory criminals are far more numerous and stronger than the social forces that create decent, law-abiding citizens. The lesson was straightforward and clear. The police don't care. Like many others trapped in the ghettos of this country, I had heard the police are not the answer when trouble comes to your door. These are some of the feelings or expressions from people. Now, also, it has the pecking order was important because it was used to resolve disputes that arose over games or girls or money, and also to maintain order and discipline in the block. There were clear rules of conduct, and if you broke those rules, there were clear consequences. This is just some ideas that I'm reading of people who have grown up in the ghetto, and many of us who might not live in the ghetto right now don't understand that they have a set of rules that they live by, that we might find ridiculous or confusing, but they nonetheless have rules and regulations that they go by in their segregated communities. Another quote, schools in America are dangerous places. Schools are often serve as gladiator societies for poor urban children. Intimidation, threats, and outright fights go on in classrooms, hallways, cafeterias, and schoolyards. Many children quickly learn that the teacher or principal might provide a sense of order when he or she is standing in front of you, but no one can really protect you in school except your fist and your friends. We had a situation back sometime when I was in a certain school. We had so many fights that it was unsafe to go out in the hallway until it was corrected. The principals that came in and that correct the problem weeded out the individuals who was making the schools these terrorizing areas. And that was one of the solutions to stop the fear of students coming to school and participating in a learning environment. Another quote, if you wonder how a 14-year-old can shoot another child his own age in the head, or how boys can do drive-by shootings and then go home to dinner, you need to know you don't get there in a day, or a week, or a month. It takes years of preparation to be willing to commit murder, to be willing to kill or die for a corner, a collar, or a leather jacket. Many of the children are conditioned early to kill, and more frequently to die for what to an outsider might seem a trivial cause. The codes of conduct on the streets of our inner city ghettos have always been hard, cold, and unforgiving. but with the influx of hundreds of thousands of handguns, you have a new brand of gunslingers among the youths. Another quote, the explosion of killing we see today is based on decades of ignoring the issues of violence in our urban communities. So this is one of the reasons why we're glad that we're now starting to not ignore it anymore and form an organization and come to the legislature and bring this issue up. And we again, we're asking all you senators that this not be the only time that this issue comes up, that we have successive debate, dialogue, hearings on these and this issue of violent crimes in our community until we solve the problem. Until we solve the problem. Another quote, children growing up under the conditions of war that we find in many poor communities today learn to think about death and killing as a matter of survival. Guns were rarely used to settle disputes during the mid-60s, and none of us own one. And the reason I use that quote is because I want to show a time when they had no guns in our community. And then there was an influx of guns into the community, and we're giving you a time frame around the 60s. Since then, we've been dealing with this influx of these weapons in our communities. Another one. My mother, like all mothers around the country today, had no reason to suspect that her child was armed. I never talked about violence in the house, never shared with my concerns about my personal safety. Never shared with her my concerns about my personal safety or about being robbed by other kids. As far as she knew, I was having a normal adolescence filled with sports, girls, and schools. So when we say penalize the parents, that's not a solution, because a lot of, like the code says, the mother didn't know. They didn't have no reason to suspect that they were armed, but because they were living in the ghetto, in a violent neighborhood, they had to survive. Another quote. Governor Rockefeller proposed laws that would create minimum mandatory sentences for possessions of relatively small amounts of narcotics. The Rockefeller drug law had several unanticipated results. The creation of a whole new employment market for young kids. Once that, again, this is the importance of making the proper laws to solve our problems. When we think that more and harsher law is the solution, it's not necessarily the solution. All they did is shift. The adults were committing the crime, and once the adults realized that they were no longer going to be, if they use children, that the children would be, the adults won't be held, go to jail, they use the children. And that is how our children became the gunslingers in our community, because of legislation like that. They began to use children. His new reputation led other young dealers to respect him, meaning the young children, once they began using children. In the mid-70s, a slow but steady stream of children, 13, 14, 15 years old, began to enter the drug business. And again, they enter the drug business for what? Because they don't have any other source of income. There's nothing coming to them for them to be productive. So the only thing that was left was the drugs and the gun life. Because guns and drug trade go hand in hand, it didn't take long before children involved in the trade began to want guns and to buy them with their illegal profits. Guns didn't become commonplace among the young until crack use became epidemic in the 80s. Slowly at first, and then with more and more frequency, young people in and out of the drug trade began to arm themselves. The handgun had replaced the fist or knife as the weapon of choice. Kids with guns often see no limits on their power. Too often today, kids with guns experience the limits of their power only when they are dying. The mindset of these children growing up in these communities, once they get a gun in their hand, they get a sense of power. And with that sense of power, they don't believe, of course, because of the youth, that anything gonna happen to them. So the only time they really realize or it hits them is at the time of death.
Hold that thought a minute, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to interject with somebody and then come back to you, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Okay. I just want to recap so far what we have. From Ihesha, the same thing that you mentioned in terms of having more community meetings like this. That was the first suggestion. From Mr. Liebert, when you mentioned about going out there, talking to these individuals in the corners, you sort of described my brother's workshop. So what I put down here, the expansion of my brother's workshop. So that's basically on your line of thinking. When you mentioned weeding out disruptive behavior in school, more parental involvement, and the one last thing that you mentioned, instead of just summer employment only, year-round employment for the youth. I believe that was one of the concepts that you mentioned. So give me one chance. We're going to let somebody else talk, and then we'll come back to you. Who's next on line?
And Senator, I want to point out that when we first started, we only had 3 speakers. Now we have 11, and I'm sure there's more that will be coming on. So I would suggest that we
Okay.
put some type of
Let's do this. Time frame. What was that again? We'll do a time frame of 5 minutes. Sir, you want to sit down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pleasant good night to everybody. My name is Fred Sanderson, and I would like to commend the organizers of this activity and also commend the 3 senators I see present to this function. I prepared a brief message, but I believe it's something that's to the point and speak about why we are here. Tonight, I join my voice and support with others demonstrating our dissatisfaction with the course of action or inaction of our elected leadership. For too long, your silence and inaction has allowed to go unchallenged. The people are feeling the tentacles of your inaction and neglect. We are deserving of greater and better representation and calling you out for your intervention, action, and resolve. Especially critical is the alarming rate of serious violence involving guns and other weapons, and we are calling on you to bring this matter to real solutions and stop the genocide. Every life that is lost through this kind of violence is a life too many. I am also adding my voice to the many who demand that our schools include courses that teach our students about themselves, their history within this community, region, and the world. Teach them about their forefathers, immediate and past, and the contributions made by them on our behalf. We are losing our young people because we fail to value them above all else. We continue to neglect them and refuse to recognize them and their potentials and contributions that they can and will make. We adults, older folks, are well on our way out. Our strongest contribution we can make is to empower our young people to take charge of their future. And the surest way is through education, first about their legacy and heritage, and then about the world around them. Finally, I must add the importance to provide our young people with good and decent work opportunities that will sustain them throughout their endeavors. We are in a position to equip them with the necessary tools and resources to succeed. This, in my estimation, is the best course of action to take to avert this crisis of internal genocide of our young people. May God give us the strength and the will to do what is right. The children are our future. Without them, we will be no more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me point out a couple of points that he made. And as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, Mr. Moorhead, who is here with us, also emphasized the change in curriculum, which is what the young man also mentioned. And then you also mentioned work opportunities, which I got here of expanding not only the summer-only program, but see if we can get year-round employment programs. No? Talk to me. No. Say it on the mic because this is...
I'm talking about empower them by giving them real jobs. We stepping back and pushing them forward. Theirs is the future. We are out. We are gone. You know, that's not sometime job.
Well, I did put year-round, but I know what you mean. I'll write it down. Who's next in the list? Mr. Moorhead. Good afternoon, sir.
Where you want me?
Anywhere you want. You want to sit down over there?
Already general.
Who's after Mr. Mario? You want to come step up here? And after her? Mr. Saki? Okay. You want to sit down next to? There you go. You have the floor, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am the individual who refer to the members of this legislative body as good-for-nothing misleaders. Ashe. I'll take it up my time. This month makes 372 years since Europeans brought our ancestors here as captives and then made them enslaved laborers. I am trying to point out, whereas you make every effort to convince us at election time that you know who we are, what our situation is, and therefore how to give us a better quality of life. Well, I would like to point out to you that until 1970, when we were able to elect our own government, we had no authority over our lives. If you are the representatives of our situation, as you say, you would know that we were totally deprived of anything that resembled an intellectual tool. No reading, no writing, no figuring. But it doesn't take a whole lot of figuring to realize that we're talking about some 300 years of providing for them and those who dominated us without being able to improve our situation. Here you come. You're going to run things. But what is it that you have been doing for us? You have stepped into the shoes of those same European and Americans that used us and tried their best to assimilate us to love the people who conquered us and enslaved us. You are now doing your best to assimilate us, to love our conquerors by studying their humanities, studying their way of living, further denying that we have any ability to do for self. I say we need inside-out cultivation. You good-for-nothing misleaders have absolutely no faith in us. So you propose nothing for us to develop. Your actions say, we're not worth it. We have to go outside, find some Europeans, find some Americans to develop you. Because we no sense of working with you, you're inferior. You can't be developed. So why then do you want us to assimilate to try to be black white people? Has it ever occurred to you to give a little time to understand how you came to be? What your ancestors did so that you could have this opportunity? And all you do is like the proverbial overseer. But you're riding on a mule with a bullwhip in your hand, letting us to know the only way forward. Was she trying to tell you my time up? You should at least conceal yourself. I mean, you're that brazen. Thank you, my general. The point being that you need to spend some time to understand that, yes, we are as human as the next Homo sapien. And we can be as developed as any other human being on this planet. If you had done your homework, you would realize that we have already done it. But by not being militarized, we were conquered. And now you want us to assimilate ourselves to be everything white people want us to be. Would you actually tell other races that they are of no value and that they should actually try to be white? Because how can we assimilate in this so-called melting pot when we don't know who we are? And you don't care to know who we are as long as we vote for you. Our curriculum should be able to explain to us and to you how it was that if you look at a map and you see that tiny little area called Europe, how did they manage to conquer this whole big continent of Africa? You interested in that? How did we get to the Caribbean? Have you ever heard of the name Queen Nzinga? She was the queen of the monarchy of Ndongo. The Dutch invaded Ndongo in the 17th century. It was 372 years to the date today that the Dutch parliament gave one John Smoke the authority to take of the captured from the Ndongo 100 of those captives to St. Eustatia, 200 to St. Croix. Have you ever heard of Ndongo? You ever heard of Angola? Never heard of Angola in West Africa either. That was the ignorance of the Europeans. Angola was the names of the king in the monarchy. They couldn't pronounce Ndongo. Are you interested in any of these things of what your forefathers had to go through? Because what you seem to be doing is telling our young people they have no value. They have no worth. They must prepare themselves to be good, white, assimilated workers. And I'm here to tell you that in this age of information, where the world is a click away, if I was a teenager, I would be just as rebellious. Because I would say, what the hell you all want us to be? Why is it that you are so convinced that there is no need to develop us? Educator. Who will educate our educators? So that we can begin to understand that it is you and I, we, the African descendants in this place called the Virgin Islands, we are the ones who need to be developed. And we're not going to be developed by studying the ways of our conquerors. Did it ever occur to you that that's what our curriculum is? I know you want the federal dollars. Has the federal government ever said that you cannot have a curriculum with your own history? No. I studied that too. But you on your own decided that that would be too rebellious. Federal government would like that. But you could get the federal dollars by teaching their curriculum. Make the school day and the school year longer then. But add a curriculum that develops us as individuals with our own history and our own self-worth. I'm not comfortable in this place, you know. But before I get too much carried away, I would ask of the four senators present, because Senator Sanes has been kind enough to summarize as we go along. If you would please indicate to the African descendants in here, why is it that each one of you feel that the only development that can take place here is that which you import from somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have the young lady. Sir, would you want to come up? Who you have after him?
Mr. Olu Massey.
Mr. Massey?
Are you ever going to respond to me?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want everybody to get a chance to talk.
Well, you are talking after everybody. Yes, Senator.
Where you going? Don't be going too far. Okay, no problem. Yes. Whatever they do. After these two, then you can wrap up. Okay, she first. Young lady?
After, excuse me, sir, after Ms. Edwards, you still have
Yeah, you will.
7 more speakers. After Ms. Edwards presents, you have 7 other speakers as well. Just
I'll tell you what we'll do is this. After this young lady, we'll have the senators respond to the question that was put on the floor. The 2 senators, then we'll continue, and then we'll have a meaningful dialogue. One of the things that I emphasized in the beginning is that I understand that we want to talk and we want to put our points out, but at the same time, we also want a solution, a concept, an idea, like what the young man stated, what Mr. Liebert stated. We want really an idea that we can talk about and come back, like what Ihesha said, in a couple of weeks, come back with a solution, come back with an idea that we can work on and make it a reality. It's not just, I understand that we're venting, I understand that we have a lot of frustrations, but we also have to come up with ideas. And that's the basis of it. I'm going to ask this young lady to step over here too, because you're going to be one of the speakers too, somebody from the younger generation. Ma'am, you have the floor. And let's just say for the record, not to confuse anybody, what we'll do is that at the end of 4 minutes, she's going to let you know that you have a minute left, okay? Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Shalima Edwards. First, I would like to give thanks to the creators of this universe, both feminine and masculine energies. Give thanks to our ancestors, those who trotted on this island, those who just wanted to be human beings. I give thanks and recognition to those who are present. Sister Ihesha, thank you for having the strength to continue with the march every year, the 3rd year. And I have to say that I sat down in the park and I was in pain. And I cried because I was tired of seeing the young children who have lost loved ones, their father, mother, cousins, relatives. And I was very frustrated with where are we going. So you have taken it to another level, and I'm grateful that you took it so far that we have this opportunity to share it so that it could be recorded. I am a daughter, I am a niece, I am a cousin of those who have lost lives. And when I speak, I don't just speak for Shalima, but I speak for those who would like to speak, but who's not present here physically, but they are here in spirit. I want to thank all the speakers. Brother Mario, you touched something really close. And what you touched was Queen